will snap on at the very last step, and they will hide the screws. So effectively, the screws become invisible, giving it that really nice, clean look. Okay, so there's a couple of different adhesives you've got that you can use on the HiveiQ hive bodies. One is more or less a standard wood glue, PVA style glue. Recommend a minimum of the Type Bond 2, Type Bond 3 even better. This one's supposedly water resistant, and the Type Bond 3 is waterproof. The waterproof on the Type Bond takes longer to dry, so it gives you a bit more time on the Type Bond 3 to manipulate, but it's something you don't really need here. And this one is a Loctite foam board. So this is designed specifically for construction foam, and so we've been testing this in the last few assemblies, and it's working really well. So we'll get into the demo. Yep. So what I normally do is just cut the nozzle on a 45. So when we're putting it on the product, especially on this edge, we don't want too much material because it's going to squeeze out everywhere, and it's a waste of material. So and it's a mess. So I just want to squeeze this, hold it down flat, and just squeeze a really light coat. A light application along that edge, and then I come down into these joins here, and I just roll through and put a line, not too heavy. This product has been really impressive, the way that it squeezes out when you press the product together. So I just run a bead on here all the way around across. Now you might wonder what that little indentation is for. That's actually a weather shield that we've built into the product. And so when you match it up with the end panel, it becomes a weather seal. And having a little bit of glue across there is great, because if it's just another level of integrity that we've added to the product that prevents any cold draft coming in into the hive through that join. So once we've done this, as you can see, it's quite quick. And you can see I haven't applied too much, and this means you're going to get quite a lot of hive bodies out of this one tube. So the next part is just the assembly part, pressing the parts together. So you'll notice that we've got an arrow here and an arrow here. So all we need to do is just line those two together, jiggle it a little bit, and then just press down nice and straight. Now we don't want to press off to the side, because you potentially could break off these lugs. So you want to keep a nice straight press on this, give it a jiggle, make sure this one's coming in lined up, give it a tap. No way you can put this in the wrong way, because it's going to foul on the plastic. So it's kind of idiot proof, I guess. Now we flip this across. Again, just line it up. A little jiggle, a little tap, and once you've got it lined up, press it in. And then what I like to do is put it like this and just give it a pull towards me.
Give it a hug.
Give it a hug.
Hug the bees.
Just give it a hug like you love your HiveiQ hive.
Exactly.
Now we're ready for the final, or second final step, which is applying the screws. Each hive body comes with the screw or fasteners. There are 40 millimeters or inch and 9/16 in the imperial language. Corrosion proof screws, and there's a pack in each box that comes from HiveiQ. So that means you haven't pressed those in, and just give them a tap. You want to look at this gap here, and if you don't want a large gap here, you want to press it nice and tight. You want to look for any excess glue, like here. So I've slightly overcooked this one, so I'll give that a wipe with a bit of shop cloth. Check again, just prevents making a mess. And so I've got a nice clean box now ready for screwing. There's two methods that I can probably recommend. One is you sit it flat like this, pull it towards you, make sure they're tapped in. You can pull while you hold the screw, and you can drop the screw in like this. Be careful not to over tighten or strip the thread when you put the screw in. Now the other technique I like to use is this one. You just got to be careful you don't get this kind of. I like to do it this way because what it allows me to do is
Slow down a bit.
okay. It allows me to come in here, pull with this arm towards me on my chest, and come in with the screw like this. It makes me to make sure that's down so that there's no gap here. We close out that gap. Pull it towards me and screw. Similar in here. What I normally do with this one is just get it started a little bit, and then I pull towards me and screw it in. It's important but not crazy. If you do happen to strip one out, I mean, it's all glued and it's not. And once you clip the covers on, the screws aren't going anywhere. But try to put it in nice and gentle at the end. Just finish at the end, not to strip it. So that's one end done. Flip it and repeat. So same deal. I've tapped in nice and flush. This join's nice and tight. Spin it. Tap, pull. It's kind of a tap and pull. Whoop. So just get this one started, give it a tap and a pull. So there we go. The box is now fully screwed and glued. This gap in here is where your frame end lugs are going to be on the frame. That's the frame rest in here. So these are really easy. The top one is the easiest. It flexes a little. It's got a little bit more flex in it. So you just put it in at an angle, pop it like that. And then you're just going to give it a good push and snap it in. Just make sure it's dropped into all those joints. Sometimes you can give it another tap. Again, just put it in at a nice angle like that. You feel it sort of just starting to click, and then just push it over. Firm push. And locks in, and then you just run your finger along here, make sure it's snapped all the way into the groove on the EPS part. Flex like that to snap onto the product. A little tip here, if you're struggling to get it on there, if you drop that in hot water, it'll soften the plastic. And while it's still warm, you can snap it on and snap on a lot easier because the plastic's gonna. It's kind of like when you're fitting a hose to a fitting and you get it in hot water, and it's that kind of principle. So here you just. This one's going to take a little bit more pressure, so you're going to push it in tight there, bring it in here, and then I've got it at this angle, but I'm going to push at that angle here, like that. And it is a fairly sharp press, as you saw, and then you can just, that last step is quite easy. Another little tip, as you're putting these on, make sure the screws are there, because I've seen folk accidentally miss a screw.
Yeah.
So just, obviously, just quick check, make sure your screws are in. Again, come in, line it up. Press, snap. So this is for the beekeepers who want to keep the plastics exposed, and often that's more an aesthetic thing. They want to have the contrast of the yellow strips and the painting on the surface here. What you also can do is you can give this a light sand on this face here, get rid of that shininess and drop it up a bit so that your paint will stick to the whole thing. So then you would be painting from here to here. So there's two options, but for those who want to mask it up and paint it, I get proper, really good quality Scotch, this is Scotch Blue, painter's tape, and it works really well. Try to avoid just standard masking tape. And I bring it over the top, put my finger here to hold it, and I pull a bit of pressure on it, but you can see I've turned the tape roll this way, and what I'm trying to do is get the edge of the tape to drop into that groove as I go, and then I can just touch it there, drop it in, and do that. And so that's nice and fast, and it's gone into the groove, so you're not going to get any yellow paint any paint here going in onto the yellow of the profile. flip the box. I've still got it attached. I give it another pull, just get it to start. And then again, I've got it at a 45-degree angle. I drop it in, turn it slightly, and then I roll my hand through like that. Give it a good press. So as you can see, you can get quite quick when you're doing a lot of these. So I'm not a professional painter, but I've done a few of these now, so I'm already getting faster and faster. Roll through. Again, I'm holding it this one at that horizontal angle just to get that. Sometimes you've got to work it a little bit just to get it in that groove. Drop it in through. Now come over the top here, tear it off. So that's done. Now what I like to do is take a knife and just run the back of the knife. So I'm using the back of the knife here and just run it through here, just so it's pressed in. Nice. Again, so no paint can come in underneath the underneath the tape. See how that just presses that in nice and firm? I think I already did that. And that's it. So obviously you repeat that for the top edge. Tape pulling off is pretty simple. If you use good quality tape, it'll come off quite well. And I like to just come here and just pull it at a slight angle like this. And don't pull it too fast, otherwise it'll tear. And as you can see from the masking technique we've used, we've got almost no paint on the plastic. Now a little tip here. See here where I've got a tiny bit of paint. What I can do if I'm really fussy, I can just get the back edge of my knife and just scrape that off, like that, if I'm really fussy. Yeah, I'm OCD, and probably ADHD. Just keep this going. And then what can sometimes happen is the tape's prevented you from painting this, so what you can do with is a little fine brush is just come along with the blue and just touch any white patches up that you may have missed with a touch-up brush. As you can see, it comes off really easy. We use that really good quality painter's tape. It's so nice to work with. Get a start on it happening. Pull that out so you can see. I'm off anyway. I can wash this off, this overspray. Get some mineral terps or something and just give it a wipe. So that's your completed, ready for bees. Absolutely. So what we want is we don't want to paint the inside because the bees are going to paint that. They will treat this material because it's non-off-gassing as more or less a natural fibre like they would inside a tree cavity, and they're going to paint this with propolis, which is a really good outcome because it gives them a really clean antimicrobial environment to live in. So it's ready for. And one thing we have done here is we've applied 2 coats, not 1. And we found that to be really important if you want longevity in the paint, the quality of the paint. The first coat covers quite well in the modern paints, but the second coat kind of protects the first coat, so you get a really nice finish. If you're using pastel colours, sometimes you need a 3rd coat because some of those pastels, the pigments in the paint mean that you need more paint, more layers to get a full cover happening. But these modern paints are incredibly resilient and designed for UV protection, so you're going to get years out of this. So this paint, I think on the tin it said it had a 15-year warranty, right? Yeah. So one thing about the EPS, this material, it doesn't move like wood. So when you're painting a wooden hive, it dries out in summer, it expands and gets moist in winter, and what you get is you get cracks in the paint. The water comes in underneath the paint. Now on this product, it's going to stay like this regardless of the climate, and so you're never going to have any delamination happening. Some people say, I'll get a plastic hive, I don't have to paint it, right? But plastic does fade over time, whereas these colours, the modern acrylic paint is amazing at holding its colour and integrity for very long periods of time. And then I can come and repaint it. So every 15 years or so, maybe 12 years, you'll come along and say, well, I want to repaint my hive, and you can see it's not really a big deal to do that. Okay, so this is the hive top. Now the metal cover, the powder coated metal cover, is already glued on, so you don't need to touch that. You just need to remove this plastic bit, so you can just sort of pop it off and just pop them out like so, and park them off to the side. So now that's one less part that we need to mask up on the product. So once we've got those off, then we can do the exact same. I'll start like this. Same as the hive body, we just run this along here. Press it in nice and tight, so that especially along that edge. See how I've gone a little bit over here, so I'll just run my knife along there. So the back of your knife comes in handy. Look, you want to try to avoid getting too much paint on here, because what can happen there is in the tolerances, see, you can see there's a lot of detail in the structure here, and if we put paint in all these grooves, you're going to have issues with applying these parts. So you want to try to minimise the amount of paint that's coming up here. I think a little bit down this side, it's not a problem, but definitely don't put paint in these grooves here.
Yeah.
Product is not going to move. And there's a couple, I mean, the integrated design, the integrating interlocking design is a couple, there's a few reasons for this. One is transport, handling. You know, when you put another box on here, this one's already been taped up, but it locks on. And so if I'm transporting them, they're locked. So it prevents robbing, things like, you know, when you're transporting a normal box without that interlocking design, it twists slightly. Next thing you know, you've got bees coming in here, robbing, and so on. Second is weatherproofing. So, you know, the rain's coming in, you've got driving rain coming in here, it's hitting here, but it would have to run uphill, you know, to come into the hive. So, you know, the last thing we want is water coming into our hive, so that weatherproofs it. It bug-proofs it, this surface here. If we just had raw EPS here and raw EPS here, between the two surfaces, bugs love that, you know, you have ants coming in here and living in this groove, but with this material here, it's not an ideal location for bugs to live. So, and this is a powder coated finish, so you don't need to paint this as zero paint, and it's already adhesived on. So a little design feature here, this metal cover is there for integrity and protection of the product, but it's a strong back system. So because a part of the condensing hive design is we want it to be completely sealed, so the bees can propolize that and create their own completely sealed pressurized chamber. And so this metal cover keeps it nice and straight. So we do this in the factory. So because we've done extensive testing on the types of adhesive that we need to use in different climates, and so that's a little design tip.